To work business, a multi-billion-pound scandal. That's what a former auditor told Parliament in secret this week, and now we can reveal his testimony in full. He claims there's an unethical culture at welfare-to-work companies like A4E. Fraud is rife, and the bosses are dishonest and untalented, but pay themselves handsomely. Public money has been chronically misused, he said. Well, the document put before MPs also describes serious problems at another jobs provider, Working Links, which is part-owned by the government. We'll put all this to the Minister, Chris Grayling, shortly. But first, Paul Mason, our economics editor, has more.
This is a story about a company that's just been cleared of systemic fraud. About civil servants who don't see the point of investigating that company's past activities, and a committee of MPs who didn't want you to hear the evidence you're about to. The company is A4E. Its only source of income is contracts from the government, mainly placing unemployed people into jobs. A business that made its owner, Emma Harrison, £8.5 million last year alone. The former head of audit at A4E, a man called Eddie Hutchinson, has told MPs the company tolerated systemic fraud. Mr Hutchinson joined A4E in October 2010, about a year before David Cameron made this official visit to the firm. Soon the whistleblower became concerned at what he calls the incidence of frauds and irregularities. There is of course no suggestion that anybody in these pictures is involved, but the whistleblower says he ran up against a
complete absence of corporate governance and accountability.
On Tuesday, the whistleblower told this committee of MPs, sitting in private, that the frauds generally involved falsifying the outcome of job placements for which the company was paid thousands of pounds a time. He said,
some of these issues had existed for some considerable time, including systemic fraud that had been perpetrated and continued to be undertaken within the company's operations.
It gets curiouser. A year before Mr Hutchinson joined the company, this report, leaked to Newsnight 2 months ago, was drawn up by one of his predecessors. In it, there is a warning of potential systematic failure to mitigate the risk towards fraud. Knowing the DWP was investigating A4E, we handed this report to civil servants. Now we know what happened to it.
What should be published and what should not be published when it comes to internal investigations.
Once the committee went into public session, the civil servant in charge told MPs his investigators were focusing on the current risks of fraud in A4E, not those revealed in the 2009 document.
You are quite happy to say that only three, A4E, it tells you nothing about the company, is it?
I'm sorry, let me just say it again. That report says they believe there could be fraud in 9 cases. A4E as a company believe they did further investigation to conclude only 3 of them were fraudulent.
And you're quite happy, are you, that
I am not quite happy, because my letter makes perfectly clear I am now reviewing every single one of those 9 cases.
When Mr Hutchinson, the new whistleblower, found out about this report, he was puzzled, because A4E had already assured the civil servants there was nothing to worry about in here.
He was surprised that the DWP should receive assurances from A4E that it had not uncovered major issues.
And this is what Mr Hutchinson has to say about the bosses of A4E and of another company called Working Links, where he worked and claims to have found similar evidence of fraud. While many people employed in these organisations are honest, highly capable and talented individuals, I do not see these same characteristics in others in the most senior positions in these companies, whose interests, it would appear, are to serve only themselves, regardless of any unethical behaviour persisting around them. And he says,
disgraceful misuse of government and taxpayer funding, characterised by unethical behaviour, mismanagement, inadequate corporate governance and risk management, and excessive payments in the form of salaries and bonuses, etc., paid to those that head up these organisations. In short, I see it as a multi-billion-pound scandal.
Both A4E and Working Links deny widespread fraud within their organisations.